Oh, hello. Yeah, I was going to talk about why I don't read webcomics today, specifically long-form webcomics. So one-shot joke comics, stuff like Cyanide Happiness, stuff like that. I really enjoy. But webcomics that are part of a narrative plot arc, like long-form webcomics, I don't like reading online. Um, and it's mostly because of how impatient I am, which is definitely a flaw in my characteristics if I was a fictional character. So my problem is that when I'm immersed in a story and you get like 4 panels, maybe 6 panels per week, I completely lose interest in waiting that long to read like the next 4 or 6 panels of a story, and like a story that might go on for like 300 pages. Like if Watchmen was being published nowadays instead of back in the 80s, and it was online, and you had to wait like a whole week for the next page of the story. There's going to be a lot of cutting in this video. Yeah, it just makes me impatient, and I'd rather wait for the comic to be completed, at least to like a certain chapter. For example, my buddy Neil Gibson writes a webcomic called Theatrics, and it's really good. Plug. But I've told this to his face. He might not remember it. He might write to me later and call me out on naming him this video. But I've read the first 2 chapter arcs and really liked it, and then I thought, oh, I gotta wait like a whole week for chapter 3, page 2 to come out now, and I don't really want to. I'd rather just wait for chapter 3 to be complete in its entirety. Now he's actually printing the book anyway, so yeah, get myself a copy, and that'd be really fun to read. But again, it's just it's the impatience behind it. One of my colleagues at work told me that I was being incredibly pedantic and stupid. She often talks to me like that, and she compared it to but you would wait like a week to see the next Game of Thrones episode or the next Breaking Bad episode. Valid argument, but I feel that with a Breaking Bad episode, with a Game of Thrones episode, you've got like 53 to 55 minutes of storytelling. There's a lot of ground to be covered in each of those episodes. Not so much with 4 to 6, maybe even 8 panels of a comic. And there are a lot of good long form webcomics out there. I've been reading one recently called Retroblade. I cannot for the life of me think who writes and draws that, but it's really good. Colours are amazing, story's amazing, but I've just reached the end of chapter 1, and I've noticed that chapter 2 is still in progress, so I'm going to wait for chapter 2 to be done before I immerse myself in that world again. It's the same with one of my favourite artists of all time. He's called Nick Angel from Big Punch Studios, another plug. He's got a comic called Seven String. It's amazing, and he recently announced plans to put it online and update it page by page for Volume 3, and I'm sure it's going to be incredible, and loads of people are going to read it in its webcomic format. But yeah, I'm gonna wait for the volume to be printed, because I'd rather have it in my hands and actually read it and enjoy the whole volume rather than page by page. I think the first long form webcomic I read was 8-Bit Theatre by, what's his name, Brian Clevenger, probably pronounced it incorrectly, from Nuclear Power. And I started, it went on for 9 whole years, and I started reading it in 2007. I think that was like 6 years from when it started being made. I think it was like 2001. So they made, and there was like a whole 1,000 issues by the time I started reading it. I read all when I caught up with the current page, and then I stopped reading it for years. I didn't actually finish reading it until about 2014, when I went back to it and thought, oh yeah, 8-Bit Theatre, that was really good. And then you've got one-shot comics like ctrl+alt+del that then turn into long-form web comics, and yeah, I remember when ctrl+alt+del used to be funny. So anyway, that's why I don't really read long form webcomics that much. Basically, I'm impatient and my attention span is that of a goldfish, which doesn't put me in a good light whatsoever, but I'm used to that. And I can't think of a joke to end on, so I'm going to return to read The Tales of You by Dan Cook. I'm sorry, Dan, if I pronounce you incorrectly. Also, you could like and subscribe, but, eh.